Hello boys, this is White Pill Media and welcome back to the channel. This video I am reviewing another video game. This is Lord of the Rings The Third Age. I don't have too much to say about it. This is going to be a shorter video, maybe like 20 minutes or so. And yeah, this video is going to be kind of rambling. I'm just going to talk about the game, what I liked. I'm kind of mixed on it. I think you could have fun with it, but it's kind of grindy and slow. I think it could have done a bit more with the premise that it didn't do. So it's just a little lacking in terms of plot and character as well. This is a turn-based RPG. It takes place over the course of the 3 Lord of the Rings movies. It's really like a movie tie-in game for the most part. While I never played this game from my childhood, I did play the other Lord of the Rings games like the Twin Towers and Return of the King. Those were a lot of fun. So I thought I would give this a shot even though I never played it before. And I put in like 40 hours or so, so even though I don't have a ton to say about it, I felt like I should make a video. And also I just want more videos on the channel instead of like going a month in between postings. So there you go. So we're running parallel to the movies, and the characters take a lot of inspiration from like our main cast. Like we have an elf who's kind of like Legolas. We have a guy who's a Gondorian swordsman. We got a guy who's a Dunedain ranger. We got a grumpy dwarf who's like Gimli. So they fall into these well-established cliches, and they don't do too much outside of it. I'm going to have just gameplay going on in the background. So we open up with Barad-dûr. He's the Gondorian guy, and he's trying to find Boromir. He gets ambushed by some Nazgul, and he's saved by this elf lady called Idriel. And people have been saying this is like a Final Fantasy X game. I've never played those, but it's like, yeah, it's a turn-based RPG. You have like attacks, and then each character has like their own like special attacks. Like Idriel does healing, she also does like magic, Barad-dûr does like sword attacks, then he also has leadership abilities, and these buffs the entire team. Just kind of walking around, you get into battle, you can loot chests in dungeon, they have better equipment. Pretty straightforward, you know, you kill things, you level up, your entire party gains XP. You can only use 3 characters at once, which I think is kind of a mistake because there's going to be 6 characters overall, so I really wish it was kind of 4. So when you use sword ability, you get a point in like the AP, and then when you use like a special ability, you get a point in the SP, and then as you do this, you start to unlock other abilities. It does take a while. There is like a lot of grinding involved. I think I played longer than some people do because I'm kind of a completionist, so I was just like in battles, like prolonging the battles and just like spamming abilities just so I could level them up faster. So there is that. I don't know if that was completely necessary, but that's just how I like playing. And then the game also just has like, you walk around, you get like an epic scene, and it's like a scene from the movie. So as a kid, you probably love that. So it is like kind of a movie tie-in game. It reminds me of like Battlefront 2, which would have been coming around this time, and you're playing that, you get like little clips from the movie, and like that's fun. Like that's enjoyable. I like you're fighting goblins and orcs, wargs, trolls, that type of thing. You also fight some bosses, like there's the Watcher thing, which is outside of Moria. Then you go into Moria. Moria's kind of a long level, but at the end, you're like on the bridge of Khazad-dûm, and you're fighting the Balrog with Gandalf, and that was kind of cool. It was tough. It took me a few tries, but that was kind of fun. Then after that, you're getting into Rohan. You meet a woman. She's Morwen. She sucks. She's weak. She gets hit. She just falls down and dies. Like 1-2 hits, she's gone, she's down. And I kind of had an issue with leveling up my later characters like Morwen, the dwarf. And I think his name's Eowyn, who's with Rohan. It's just because they come later, so I'm already kind of into the characters I have. Not that the characters I have like have amazing personalities. They have very bare bones personalities. But it's just I've been with them longer, so I was more hesitant to try them out. Also, Hadhod had his spirit powers they just kind of blow, dude. Like they just kind of suck. Like he can make a shield, which is okay. That breaks pretty easy. And then you can do like the weakest fire attacks ever. And Morwen, who just dies to everything. She has some axe abilities. I used her a little bit. She missed a couple of axe hits, and I'm like, okay, you're on the bench. And then she has thief skills, so she can like steal items from enemies, and these are not very good. I didn't use items too much. I was just playing on normal difficulty, so maybe if I was playing on hard, it would be like a bigger deal. But like I used some where it's like revive a character and all that. And then I think maybe some of her abilities were good later on. Like you could steal like SP points, which that'd be phenomenal for just trying to level up fast. But otherwise, Thief didn't seem too useful, so I didn't use too many of my new characters. Oh, and like I said, you do have like shared group experience, which is cool. I really like this. But I think something that could have been added, like just gaining some SP points after you level up each time you're not using a character or like their special abilities, you would still be able to put points into them to make them more viable, because as the game goes on, it's getting harder. So it's kind of like characters that fall behind stay behind. You know, it's like a snowball effect. Kind of an issue where it's just trying to grind up characters later on. Like, yeah, you still get equipment for them, so they're getting stronger in that way. Like they have better armor, better weapons. Their abilities are really lacking, and that's what matters in the later game. I would say that the game overall, like, it fits with the series. It doesn't like really try or experiment. Like, oh, it's like, yeah, we defeated the Watcher at Moria, which, you know, that doesn't happen in the movies. We fight the Balrog of Gandalf, and that's just kind of a cool moment, you know, but it's not like canon. But it's nothing like too crazy. It's nothing too experimental within like the world of Lord of the Rings. Like, you could have had something with like our own little like micro fellowship, and they're running around during the events of the books. Like, I think you could do a lot of interesting stuff with that, but we never really kind of do that. There is like a lot of grinding for abilities, which I don't love. I don't think I've ever like loved grinding in a game. You know, it's just something I have to do to progress, and so it's just kind of annoying. And battle animations, after you've seen an enemy do a battle animation once, 2 times, 100, probably a couple thousand, because you're fighting constantly. So I think it's not unrealistic to say, like, I've seen some of these animations hundreds, if not thousands of times. And they're so slow. They're so incredibly slow. I think you have to play it on double speed. Otherwise, you'll go nuts. And yeah, after Rohan, you know, you got Helm's Deep. Helm's Deep was kind of tough. It's like a gauntlet of battles, and there's not really a save in between them. So if you die, you have to go back to the start of them. Unless, hypothetically, you were playing on an emulator and you could create save states, and then that wouldn't happen, and you wouldn't just waste your fucking time. So that's something to think about. And you can like choose who's walking around the world, and that character gets like the experience whenever you complete a quest, and that's okay. Like, there's that, like, it's kind of cool when you're walking around. You can like, and in battle you can see like how your armor has changed when you're equipping new stuff. I'm like, I kind of like that. But there's not too much outside of just like walk around, you get a battle. If you go near your chest, it's a forced battle. Otherwise, you could get a random battle, and there's like a Sauron eye meter that fills up the longer like you're walking around an area. You get new armor, you get some new equipment. There's some extra stuff of like light crafting, so you can do like light magic and light spells, and those are okay. There's also like shadow craft for like the evil version, and there's just crafting where you can make items. I felt crafting was literally the most useless because my inventory was just stocked to the brim by the end of it all, so I didn't really have too much trouble with it. The bosses are fun. Kill Grima Wormtongue, you fight Nazgul, you fight the one orc with like the fucked up like white face. The abilities are like satisfying when you start unlocking them. Idril has this ability called Aura of the Valar, and she can do it to herself, and that means if she gets hit, she gets automatically revived, and if she gets revived, she gets full action points and then full spirit points. And she has a thing called Frenzy. Most of the characters have an action that just costs a lot of spirit points, and when they take that action, they can perform like 2 actions in a turn. So you can do Frenzy, give herself Aura of the Valinor, and then another character Aura of the Valinor, and then if she ever gets hit and goes down, well, her spirit meter is fully filled up again, so you can do Frenzy again, and then give her and another character full coverage. So it's kind of like insane. It's like, it's very, very good. Elagast gets this like insane true shot ability, and he can also just fire arrows that just put all the enemies to sleep. Some of them are immune, which is kind of annoying, and you can't like stagger enemies to like force them out of like turn order. But some enemies you can stagger, and then you can just do that fucking infinitely. There is like some branching paths with like your skills, like you can choose to like overload skills in like your swordsman, and like you could technically make Barathor really good at magic or whatever, but that would be retarded. So I don't know why you would do that. I felt like, yeah, it's a level of customization that's maybe not necessary because there's just not much you can do with it, right? So why would you ever want to put points into abilities that your character just isn't naturally good at? There's really not a point to it. I guess maybe for a challenge, but I don't know. Maybe that could have been done away with. I did get a little exhausted during this game, and I wasn't sure if I was actually going to finish it. I think it was maybe after Rohan or like during like Rohan, where it's just like, look, I'm just running around. I keep seeing the same like fucking battle animations, and I'm just tired. But I wanted to persevere. I wanted to do a video, and it did get better later on, but it is like kind of boring, right? Because you're just doing the same thing over and over. And that's probably like a lot of RPGs where it's just like you fight enemies, you keep going, but those like have character, right? You're learning more about the character, you're learning more about the world. We're not really learning anything new about this world in this game because we know it. We know the movies, right? So that's also missing from it. Like I said, a lot of grinding. I wish you could have 4 party members because I think it would just make grinding better because then I'm leveling up 4 at once instead of having to switch out like my OG like 3 guys who are really good together with like my mediocre new guys who don't have the spirit abilities unlocked that I want that are actually good because it would just take forever to grind them up. So there's also like a sunk cost fallacy where I want to keep using my old guys because they have the best abilities. And the new guys are going to take a long time to get their abilities unlocked. You also have like perfect mode, which is like if you do, after a while, you're doing attacks and everything, you fill up this meter and then you can do like this super ability. If you're in a tough spot, you use perfect mode. Otherwise, I don't touch it. It's okay. You can do like a thing where you summon Ents and knock enemies down, or yeah, whatever, you summon eagles or you shoot arrows. There are a lot of things. And at certain points, you're also interacting with characters from the movies. Like at Helm's Deep, you're fighting alongside Gimli at some parts, Legolas at some parts, Aragorn at some parts. And like, that's fun. They're really good. So those aren't bad. I think at some point in Osgiliath, I got like my 3 main characters like all their abilities completely unlocked and everything, so they're just great. So I started leveling up my other guys like the dwarf, the thief chick, and the Rohan guy. Oh, and Morrowind, like, I guess maybe she has some of the most character where it's like, oh, her family's dead, so she's upset. And I'm like, okay. She's from like Gondor. She like refused to marry a guy that turned coward. So her and her family were exiled, and that's why they were in Rohan. That's all right. The Rohan guy, I got nothing to say about him. I honestly wished I used the Rohan guy earlier. He seems fucking insane. He could do a surprising amount of damage that's very good. He could transfer health to other characters and also like spirit points to other characters, like refill his spirit bar and everything. So it's like, he seemed pretty good, you know, in terms of like a secondary mage or whatever. But I don't know, I had a sunk cost fallacy, and it was like almost too late because after Osgiliath, you have Minas Tirith, and then you have Pelennor Fields. And those are all fine. You fight a lot of trolls. It's not like, it wasn't really challenging at this point because like my best characters are fully unlocked and leveled up, so I'm not really worried. The only challenge was me trying to level up my weak characters. And then having like battles go on longer than I want just because I'm trying to level them up, so I'm feeding like kills to them, right? And when I did finish the game, I did not have all of my abilities unlocked for my minor characters, and I could have grinded for several more hours. I think there's something you can do very early in the game where like if you drain action points out of this one enemy that's left standing, he just stands there and doesn't do anything. So you can like infinitely do some spirit power stuff on them. You can like infinitely do crafting to fully level up your crafting. It just feels unnecessary because, you know, you win, you beat the game, and then there's just nothing to do afterwards. It kind of annoyed me that I left on abilities like not fully unlocked, but whatever. And then yeah, you beat like the Witch King on Pelennor Fields, and that's kind of cool. And then you have to fight like the other like 8 Nazgul who are still alive. I'm like, okay. And then there's no cutscene, there's no anything, but after Pelennor Fields, you are magically transported up top the Tower of Barad-dûr, and you are literally fighting the Eye of Sauron. I'm not exaggerating. You're literally fighting the Eye of Sauron, and if you defeat the Eye of Sauron, there's like a quick like little movie cutscene that doesn't involve your characters at all. It's just a clip from the movies, and that's the end. There's no epilogue for your characters. There's no credits. You just go back to the main menu. So there's no care. There's no love for our characters, who really weren't much of characters to begin with, but like the lack of effort here was a little astounding. Oh, and there's a little backstory of Barad-dûr. So he got stabbed by Morgul Blade, and he showed cowardice at a battle in Osgiliath, and this made him get banished. So he was like kind of a free wanderer who came under control of like Saruman. He wanted him to go steal the ring from Boromir. The one she-elf chick, she agreed to be part of your party because Galadriel asked her to, and she's just like watching over you to make sure you don't go crazy, because there's like a few points in the game where you kind of lose control, like Helm's Deep, and then also like Minas Tirith. But then eventually you like stab yourself through your armor, I might add, and then you dig out like the Morgul Blade. So there's that. You kind of kiss the she-elf at some point, but then she's like, "I'll live forever." So no, we can't be together. And you're like, "Oh no, I could have sex with like a beautiful woman forever until I die." The horror. This could never work. So you're stuck with Morwen for your wife, which is something, I guess. It's better than nothing. Oh, and another thing with like the Eye of Sauron, it's like, okay, canonically in the books, I'm almost positive it's in like book 1 or book 2. I think it might be book 2. It's when Gollum is talking to like Frodo and Sam, and he's like, blah blah blah, is being tortured in the Tower of Barad-dûr. One of my torturers was missing a finger, and he's like, he's definitely talking about Sauron there. So it's like Sauron has a fucking body. He's just missing a finger when like Isildur cut it off, right? Like he has a body. He's not just a disembodied like eye thing. I think that's retarded. Because like I know there's like some debate around it, but I'm like, what's the debate? It's just canon in the books. Yeah, he has a fucking body. He's walking around. He doesn't fight in like the final battle because he's just hiding inside his tower, letting his minions do his fighting for him. Because like the last time he came out to fight, that didn't go well for him. Oh, and there's also evil mode, so you can go back to an area that you've cleared. Instead, you play like as the bad guy, so there might be like a series of battles on one map, like you're playing as like orcs, you can play as like Uruk-hai, you can play as the Balrog in Moria, that's sick. And you get to fight and kill Gandalf, that's fun. You get to play as like the Witch King, the Watcher, Nazgul. So no, like that is a fun mode. It's kind of like, yeah, Battlefront when you get to play as like the bad guys. It's fun. It's neat. And that's like really the game. I think it was fun enough. I don't regret playing it, but I don't think I would play it again. Maybe if I had played this as a child, I would have like more nostalgia for it. The other Lord of the Ring games, I was playing them a while ago for nostalgia's sake with some friends. Turns out these are not 3-player like I remembered in my head. These are actually 2-player, and I guess me and my brothers would just take turns swapping controllers. But I'm like, that's so annoying because we had like 4 guys, so we thought that at least 3 of us would be able to play. No, it's just 2. So I don't know if I would play those again. If you're just doing it for like nostalgia, or you just want like a Lord of the Rings movie tie-in game, I thought it was pretty fun. Honest and respectful to the source material. I guess I could play it again if I was just focusing on the other 3 characters. Now it adds something because they're kind of like the B team, right? But unfortunately, you do get like the last of them, like I would say like over halfway through the game, so there's just less time to get attached to him. Hey, if you do check out this game and you're kind of in trouble and you're like, oh, I don't want to use too many healing items in between battles, you can just abuse the save points. This is what I did. You just go to a save point, you save, wow, everything's filled up perfect, and you can just camp that if you're kind of getting fucked around with. I know this video is not much, and I know it's not like a complete recommendation, which is more or less what I want to do with these. I did try another game. This one was from my childhood. It was the Nintendo 64. It's like Army Men 2, Sarge's Heroes. You play as Green Army Men. You run around little battles. You're fighting like the Tan Army. And it was not as fun as I remembered. Honestly, I thought the controls were fairly jank. Definitely when you have to like jump or anything that requires a little bit of precision, not super fun to do. Overall, it was like okay, but I didn't have as much fun with it as I imagined I would have. And it was like very short. It was like maybe 5-6 hours tops. So yeah, I didn't feel like I could really do a video on that because I just wouldn't have much to say. I think I do have like a interesting game, maybe a series of interesting games lined up for the next video covering video games on this channel. I think this title is a little lesser known. I think it should have like a cool story and characters. We'll see. Hopefully that goes okay. I did check out some game on the GameCube as well. It's also an RPG. It's called Baten Kaitos. It's like a JRPG, and look, it's just a little too much for me. It's a little like I guess too anime, where it's like you have like a deck of cards, you play them together, they do damage, and while it is a turn-based RPG, your turns where you're like blocking an enemy attack are not turn-based. They are quick time events, so you can just you have like a few seconds, and then if you're not fast enough moving the cards, like clicking on the cards, then you don't like block, so you just take full damage. And I'm like, that's gay. And some it's like combine a banana with a pine cone and a sword, and you do X amount of damage to the enemy. And I'm like, all right, I don't think this is for me exactly. So I think I'm staying away from RPGs for a little bit. I want to play like a bit. I want to play like some shorter games so I can make these videos faster. I think there should be something in probably a month or so. So yeah, early August. Other videos on the channel coming up. There might be like a media review, like a movie review next. I did check out like the first season of a TV show. It was awful. And then a few movies which didn't make much of an impression, so I don't want to make like a video on those where I don't really give a shit about it. But I am going to check out a few movies in between them. I'm still reading for the Troth. I would say 2 to 3 weeks, probably mid to late July. I'll have a Troth video out. I think it'll be a good one. In the meantime, I do have some other video game related content on this channel. It's not very good. You can check those out if you want. There's a Fire Emblem one. I put some jokes in there and maybe you'll like them. The Sun's in the Forest, that's not great, but there's some jokes. But that's it. Thanks for watching. White Pill Media out.